So we're working out of OpenStax Statistics, Chapter 9, and we're going to work through an example on hypothesis testing. This is an example that has to do with salad dressing machines. So if you want to access the OpenStax text, just look in the description of the video for a link, and you can go to divideandconquermath.com, go to the OpenStax Statistics section, and you can reference the Excel workbook that you see here totally for free. So we have that a manufacturer of salad dressing machines uses machines to dispense liquid ingredients into bottles that move along a filling line, and the machine that dispenses salad dressing is working properly when 8 ounces are dispensed. So suppose that the average amount dispensed in a particular sample of 35 bottles is 7.91 ounces with a variance of 0.03 ounces squared. So this is calling out that that is S squared. So is there evidence that the machine should be stopped and production wait for repairs? The lost production from a shutdown is potentially so great that management feels that the level of significance in the analysis should be 99%. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use both critical values and p-values for this one. Okay, so there's kind of a lot going on here. So first of all, so what are our hypotheses? So I don't typically write this down in the Excel workbook, but I have it written down somewhere, and it is very important to know what your hypotheses are because that's going to kind of dictate how you set up your data. So in this particular example, for a company, you want exactly the amount that you need to put in the bottle. No more, no less. So if you want it exactly at 8, your hypotheses are going to be that mu is equal to 8 or not equal to 8. Now, if you've been looking at the other previous tabs, you know that I usually like to first just summarize my data. So if those are my hypotheses, that means that my mean is going to be 8. Now, my standard deviation in this case is kind of interesting because if you read the problem, it very clearly tells you that, one, this is going to eventually get us sigma, or sorry, not sigma, S, not sigma. But also this says that this is a variance, so that is S squared. So a variance is S squared, so that's going to be 0.03. So what's the difference between a variance versus a standard deviation? So for a variance is squared, and then the standard deviation is just the number itself. So how do I get to the standard deviation? I'm going to take the square root. Okay, so this is going to be my S in this case. And since we're talking about S and not sigma, that also tells us that we're going to be using student's T, okay? So our N in this case is 35, and we're told very clearly that from the 35 bottles, the mean amount of salad dressing was 7.91. Okay, so now we want to do critical values versus p-values. And we did kind of a similar thing when we were in this tab here. So I would like to encourage you to first see if you can just finish this problem totally on your own. So I would recommend that you pause here, make sure that you draw the proper graph for each of these situations, set up any other data that you need. So you'll get the most out of this if you actually try this on your own. It'd be better to make a mistake than to just watch me do everything perfectly all the time. So really try to engage with this, really try this totally on your own. See where you're getting stuck and you'll get more out of the video. So pause here and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so I have my data. I do need to kind of get this data ready for the distribution of means. So my mean is going to be the same. My standard deviation will be found by taking my standard deviation from the data, and then I keep forgetting to write the square root 35, so there's my standard deviation. Now I am going to need a test statistic in either case, so I'm just going to go ahead and calculate a test statistic because we're working with students T, so the only way to do this is by having a test statistic. Okay, great. So now what we're going to do is p-value versus a critical value. Okay, so what's interesting about this one is that this is a not equal to. So in both cases, so notice I do have this negative test statistic, but what's going to be important here is that we need to make sure that we are setting up something that is two-tailed. So I think actually this gets a little harder with the p-value. So I think it'll be easiest to actually talk about this if I just compare the two graphs against one another. So before I draw everything, let's also find the critical value in this case. So in this case, for my critical value, so notice that we're testing at a significance level of 99%. That means that my alpha value is 0.01, but since this is two-tailed, I have to take that alpha value and divide it by 2. And so that's going to be important then for actually finding my critical value, because my critical value is getting split in between two tails. So I'm going to use that t dot inverse function, and I take that alpha divided by 2, that's going to be my probability. And then for my degrees of freedom, I'm going to take my n minus my 1. So I guess I could have put my df over here. Let's see, df. I could also write that over here, tomato, tomato. Okay, so here's my critical value, but I need the positive and negative version of this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the kind of normal distribution for each of these situations, just so that we can kind of clearly compare them. Okay, so I have now each kind of situation visualized. So with a p-value, so your p-value in this case, you have to use your test statistics. So your student's t will be centered at 0. And so here is my test statistic, that negative 3.07. But the thing is, you have to reflect that this is clearly a two-tailed test, because this is a mu is not equal to. So this has to be a two-tailed test. So this test statistic that you found, this is in this instance only half the p-value. So what you want to do is you want to mirror that on the other side. So I always think of it as, when I have a two-tailed test, I just multiply the p-value by 2. So this is one way that you can visualize this, versus for the critical value. So for your critical value, you find this first critical value, this negative 2.73. But again, it's a two-tailed test, so you have a mirror critical value on the other side. And then what you do is you set up where your test statistic actually falls. And remember, from here to the tail, this is really your reject zone. So it's up to you which method you want to use. You kind of just have to remember that with either one of these, you just have to kind of modify it because you have a two-tailed test. But to finish this out, so I will go ahead and I will set this up. So I'm going to use my test statistic with my degrees of freedom with the t.dist function. And then I ultimately need to multiply this by 2. So in this case, I get a p-value of 0.004. And here, I don't have to calculate anything. I can just see that I'm in the reject zone. So I'm in that reject zone. Okay, so the conclusion for either. So at the end of the day, the p-value that we're comparing to is this 0.01. So is 0.004 less than 0.01? Yes. So the p is lower than 0.01. So we're going to reject the null hypothesis. Versus over here, we are in the reject zone. And so again, we're going to reject the null. So totally up to you which one of these arguments you prefer. I have always kind of preferred critical value when it comes to two-tailed tests, just because I like how visually, I like this idea that there's this clear reject zone. Sometimes I find that for the p-value, it feels more awkward to have to suddenly multiply it by 2 in these cases, but it doesn't matter, right? It gets you to the exact same conclusion. And so, yeah, that's it for this one.